It is a freezing as well as an ungodly hour of the night. But there's a little bit of an ego boost in that. There's a little bit of an ego boost in knowing that while you're sleeping, I'm out here going to slam back. Even though, honestly, I probably wouldn't mind switching places with you and having trained earlier in the day. But the nature of my current circumstance of getting tying up on my loose end school-wise dictates that my schedule gets a little bit off kilter. Ugh, teeth are still chattering in here. So, plan for back. I was kind of getting into it a little bit in the last cardio day video, but I mean, obviously, you probably didn't watch that one. So let's just describe the plan. What do you think? I mean, what do you think the back day is going to look like? Even if you haven't watched any back days before, give it a guess. It's probably going to be some pull downs. Probably going to be some rows. And more than likely going to be some pullovers. Now, the actual order, as well as the types and the handles and the attachments, I mean, I really couldn't tell you for sure. I kind of have to wait until I, get in there and see what kind of jumps out at me, Sometimes I like a wide, straight grip pull-down handle. Other times I kind of like a neutral grip. Or maybe I'll just skip the regular lat pull-downs altogether and do some single-arm cable pull-downs. So, it's really just kind of whatever I think is going to feel the best at that current moment. And sometimes if I can't tell, I'll just kind of pick something that I know I've liked before and past. So if I don't really know what kind of row I want to start with, or nothing's really jumping out at me, maybe I'll just do some standard straight bar pull downs as my starting movement instead of trying to feel around everything else. So I definitely think there's a benefit to trying to go in and whatever you think is going to feel good as an opener, as long as it kind of fits the basic framework of what your lifts look like. I think there's some benefit in that, but it's probably not end of the world important. If you've got a basic lift that you like, I don't think it's going to hurt you to just repeat it for a couple weeks straight, as long as you actually push it every lift. I don't think that it would be a waste of time for me to go in and if I don't think it would be a waste of time if for the next 10 back days I did the exact same lift back to back. Maybe let's call it 2 sets of straight bar pull downs, 2 sets of wide neutral grip seated cable rows, and then maybe 2 sets of a pull down machine and 1 set of pullovers. I think if I actually pushed it on all my sets and I did that same lift week to week to week for a couple weeks, that'd be good for me. But I do think it's probably going to be better to change it up. I can tell I'm fumbling my words. I'll accommodate. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? I'd say that's credit to a variety of reasons: brain fog, tiredness, and coldness. I gotta turn up the heat. But regardless, it's still gonna be a good lift. So I'm getting pretty excited. I still have to finish a little bit more shit, but then it's out of my hands. And that's you know the feeling. You know the feeling. You turn all your shit in, you take your last final, and you're like, whatever happens, happens. Right? It's a little bit of a release of control. I guess if you're if you're a nerd and you know you've aced everything, then you get a little bit of you get some leeway. You don't get to experience that kind of existentialism. But if you're like the rest of us, you kind of don't know which way this shit's gonna go. So, I'm not sure if I'm excited or not for the gym to be dead. I honestly, I'd be surprised if there was more than one person in there. Which sometimes it's nice. It is just kind of cool to have the gym all to yourself. But, yeah, I like the energy of having dudes in there with me too. So it kind of depends. It's a little bit funky on either side of the spectrum. Obviously, if it's crazy packed, you get away from machines. Your lift is going to get compromised. But at least there's kind of an energy in there. And when it's totally dead, you got everything at your disposal. You can do whatever kind of drop / superset that you want. But I mean, it's dead in there. It's just you. So that may kind of depend on the person. Maybe one dude fucking loves when it's packed. That's the only way he can get a good lift in. And somebody else, he fucking hates it when the gym's full. He wants some peace and quiet. He wants some alone time. I'd say I'm kind of right in the middle. I don't mind it too much. Obviously, I don't want it to be packed to the point where I've really got to wait for stuff. But I don't think that... Oh, wait a second. I don't think that's a rare take. So, probably about 10 minutes out, I slammed the Blue Shark Gummy Samsulek Select pre-workout right before I got in the car, so I'm still waiting for those. I think it's 300 milligrams of caffeine to kick in. Usually I kind of float around just a little bit of Samsulek lore. Usually I kind of float around 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine per lift. Depends on the lift. Sometimes for legs, I'll double up, make it 400. But for the most part, I think 2 does me good. If you're really shooting up to the point where you're doing like 5 or 6 every lift, no matter what, I think you may have gone a little too far. I'll say that much. So, blare my music, get in the zone, and just jump straight to whatever the first set is gonna freaking end up being. Pretty much as dead as expected, but they've done some rearranging in here. It used to be like all these kind of fancy machines that are in line. They used to be kind of in the corner over there, and the dumbbells are on a totally different side. It's been a while since I've been at this Planet Fitness, but this is a fancy one. I've brought this up before. I feel like there's Planet Fitnesses, and then there's kind of ones that just get a little extra oomph to them. Like the one back home where I'm from, they don't have any of these kind of machines, but this seated row kind of caught my eye. Did a couple feeler reps. I think I want to sit here for at least a few. This would be a perfect starter. Not insane on the weight, but I'm really trying to get a good squeeze. Okay. One more. Whew. Let's move on to some basic pull downs. I've noticed I've kind of been doing my pull downs with like just a shoulder width grip, which I do feel really strong on, but I think I've just been doing it out of ego, so I can lift a lot of weights. Because when I do a set of pull downs with a shoulder width grip, sure, I feel a lot of lat tension, but honestly, I don't really get as good of a squeeze at the bottom as when I have a real wide grip. Because I almost feel like when I do a shoulder width grip set, it's only one action, just my lats pulling down like this. You know, if I were to take my forearms out of the equation, all it would look like is like a pull down like this, or a pullover. Whereas when I do a real wide grip, for one thing, it's kind of opening my lats up sideways instead of right in front of me. But it also has like kind of a pull down, and then when I get to the total bottom, it's almost like I'm really retracting my shoulder blades, if you can imagine. So I do chill out on the weight a little bit, just so I can squeeze a little bit harder, because that's what I'm trying to emphasize with this set. But I think I gotta at least add in a wide grip variation of pull downs. Obviously, they're both gonna hit your lats, but I really do think that a really wide grip feels significantly different. Ugh. 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 Okay. One more like that. I think I might do a normal set, and then when I do a drop set, I'll do some behind the neck. Not that I think it's that special, but it just kind of does give me a little bit of just a different kind of squeeze. You know, it's really just to add a little bit more variability to the set. You know, I don't know if I would necessarily say behind the back is even necessary at all. But since it does feel a little bit different than just normal in front of me, I think it's at least worth throwing in, maybe every so often. So we'll just see how it feels. Yeah. Okay. Alright, that felt okay. That felt alright. One thing that's kind of funky with the behind the neck, I almost feel like it's hitting my mid traps. Like, I don't know, I guess you kind of have to try it. But instead of feeling like I'm really pulling with my lats, it's almost like when I bend my head forward like that, it almost turns into like kind of a high wide grip row. But definitely adding to the back pump for sure. I think next let's do some, I want to do rows but not seated cable. I need to think of a row variation that interests me. I would honestly prefer if these handles were maybe a foot or two wider, because when I do these seated rows with one cable for each handle, I kind of like when the cables are far apart, like not shoulder width, I'm talking like wingspan width, because then when I'm doing the rows, rather than just pulling like straight towards my body and having my hands be the same distance apart from each other, when they're really wide out here in the beginning and then I can contract them closer together, I feel like I just get maybe not a better stretch, Because obviously if I do a straight bar row, like on the seated cable over there, I'm still going to get a big stretch in front. But it just kind of feels different when the handles are pulling outward from your center of mass rather than just right in front of you. But either way, I'm really going to push the weight on this one and just try to have a lot of tension on my mid upper back. Hold it for maybe a second, and then back down. And once I can't really hold it anymore, that'll kind of be my cue to end it. And then either do another one, or this might be it. Okay. Alright, I lied. One more set of pullovers, and then we're done. So I'm not typically the biggest fan of double arm pullovers. Usually I like one handle at once, kind of this way. But that's really only when I'm fresh and I'm kind of strong. Since my back day is pretty much complete now and it's pretty much burnt out to, not to all hell, but I'm definitely fatigued and I can feel it in my sets. Now, it's a little bit easier for me to really bias my lats on the pullovers. So moderate weight, really just try to go for a squeeze and burn, and then once I feel like I'm pretty much fully pumped up, and go find some kind of lighting spot, do a lat spread, and get out of here. The epitome of a post-back day pump check. Yeah, let's go check it out. It's been a while since I posed down in here. Still, probably up there in the top, maybe 3 lighting spots in this gym. So, solid lighting, more than good enough to see what kind of shit went down with that back day. So, dude, I'll be real with you. I kind of feel like total shit. Oh, maybe not necessarily like just walking around normal feeling, but just kind of fucking light, dehydrated. I don't know. Honestly, I think ever since the California trip, just from fucking shaking so many hands, I think somebody fucking exposed me to some kind of something that's been fucking with me. Whew. But clearly not bad enough to turn this back pump into anything rough. There we go. Oh my goodness. Alright, same thing from the back, and then let's freaking roll. Oh my god. Oh. I gotta get home and get to bed pronto. Alright, and with that, in less than an hour's time, back has been completed to my satisfaction. Well, I'd say to my satisfaction based on my current state. I've definitely had better back days before, but given that this was still a productive lift, that's still a positive addition in terms of, let's just call it gym trips under the belt. And the more of those that you can add up, especially in a row consistently, the better off you're going to be gains wise, and I can say that with 100% freaking certainty. I kind of got a little bit of a second wind after that third set of that third set, so that would have been the first set of pull downs. Yeah. That first working set, oof, man, I felt like I was kind of dogging it. But little bit of a turnaround in terms of, honestly, it might even just have been my mentality, you know? Like if you're doing your lift and like the first 3 reps, maybe you're not crazy hype, but then, or the first 3 sets rather, but then, you know, set number 4 kicks in, something about the song that you picked, or just some kind of, maybe an X factor, just kind of gets your blood flowing a little bit faster. You know, that can change the whole tide of a lift, man. Right? I mean, you got to think your mentality is a pretty strong fucking factor. You know, if you take 2 dudes who are equally matched, one, and you know, you pit them against each other, fucking UFC style, and one dude's like, oh crap, I don't know if I could beat this guy. Fuck. Oh shit, I don't know. But then the other guy's like, I'm gonna whoop this guy's fucking ass. I mean, even if they've got equal skill, that guy who's got that dog in him, he's gonna have an edge. He's gonna have a freaking edge. So the same thing is gonna apply to your lifts. You know, if somehow you can turn around whatever, you know, BS you got to deal with into just a little bit of hype, the better off you're gonna be, man. Kind of was kind of thinking this on the way in there. I mean, I was like, fuck, gonna feel like shit, but it's not gonna stop me though. Come on, let's. Now, whether or not this is actually the best move, and you know whether potentially I should have just stayed home and got extra rest, I don't know. Maybe I'm a fool for going in if I'm in a compromised state, but I kind of do think that you'll get better results if you're that crazy. You know, I think the guy who's more prone to skip the gym if he doesn't feel 100%, I don't think he's going to get as much progress as the guy who's willing to go in even when he kind of feels like trash. It's just because, sure, maybe those lifts aren't as productive as the ones where somebody's fully rested and fed and they're actually 100% fresh, obviously. But just to kind of go through that process, I think the guy who's willing to go hard when he feels like trash, when he feels really good, his lifts are going to be even better than the guy who only goes in when, you know, everything's perfect. I mean, you can't really rely on that kind of preparation, at least not all the time. Obviously, if you're an experienced lifter and like this is your thing, this is your shit, then you're going to kind of orientate your whole routine around making sure that you have good lifts on a consistent basis. You're probably going to wake up at a specific time, eat a specific thing, go do your morning cardio like you should, come back, eat some more, eat some more, eat some more, make sure you're fully hydrated, take all your vitamins and fish oils and whatever else, and then by the time it's whatever time it is for you to lift, you're like, all right, now I'm hyped, just because, you know, everything's going your way. But come on, this is elementary school, fucking, you got bullied on the playground level speech. You know, not everything's gonna go your way. Sometimes you're gonna get kind of fucked up. But when you do, whatever, who gives a shit? Push it. Do not forget to push it. So I don't want to say what time it is, but the sun will be up relatively soon. Not that soon, but you know, it's closer to daytime than it was to nighttime, as it were. So I've got a little bit of a decision. I don't have any responsibilities except for finishing a project. I've got a little bit of extra shit to finish. So what do? Do I just finish it after this when I get home and then sleep until I'm fully slept, wake up tomorrow? Or do I go to sleep and finish it tomorrow? I don't know. Part of me, yeah, I think I want to just get it done and then finally end the semester with a crazy, long, deep night's rest. Oh, man. This happens to me at the end of every semester. Oh my God. I just had a dream that I was like late to an exam for a random class that I'm not even taking. I always get like end of semester every time. I always get a little bit anxious. Like it's just A lot of stuff coming together. Not ideal. Not freaking ideal. So there will be a little bit of a transition period for me, I'm certain. It always happens. You know, even by next week, when I'm just at home chilling in my own bed, I'm sure I'll probably wake up at like 7 in kind of a like a jolt. I'm gonna go, crap, I have to wait. No, I don't. What am I talking about? Go back to sleep. Go back to freaking sleep. But that'll be nice though. More rest is definitely going to correlate with more gains. That is for sure. And I've been slacking in the rest department. I can guarantee it. So I need to get back on that solid. Honestly, I'm gonna try to get on that 10-hour grind. Go to bed at like 8 o'clock. That would be nice. That would be freaking nice. So, go home, drink my drinks, eat some ground beef, some rice, a little bit of cheese with barbecue sauce mixed in. I think I'm just gonna try to bust out that little bit of work and pass out. And tomorrow is gonna be arm day. So I say I'm gonna do morning cardio, but there's no chance I wake up tomorrow at any time that ends in AM. So it'll really be afternoon cardio with a lift later on that night. Arms, tries, buys, forearms, and I'll probably add calves in. It's been a couple days since I've done calves, like a total slacker. But I don't know. I guess I don't want to say I can get away with skipping calves. I do want them to get a little bit bigger, but they're not really too far behind. So if you know that your calves are not where you want them to be, every couple days, man, I'd say, I mean, just as often as any other muscle at the very least, 5, 6 sets of pretty heavy calf raises at the end of your lift, I think that'll do you good. And I can almost guarantee that you're not hitting calves, at least not on a consistent basis. Nobody does. And I'm not saying that like, well, I that's kind of true. I've been skipping calves a little bit too. But, if you want change, you gotta do shit. You can't just expect to grow without any muscular stimulation. That's not how this shit works. That's the whole point of going into the gym in the first place. Right? Pretty much each day, you pick a couple different body parts, or muscle groups rather, and you say, guess what, pal? I'm gonna beat the shit out of you today. Right? They get beaten down, and then like anybody with some ounce of pride, they're gonna build themselves up stronger over time. So if you want your calves to get big and strong, but you don't beat them down every so often, guess what? Nothing's going to happen. And that is not necessarily, actually, I don't know what I was going to say. You get what I'm saying. So, cardio in the PM, lift also in the PM, and then, shit, man, I just get to go to sleep. That is, I have so much sleep debt, it is not even funny. And I'm sure it's beginning to add up with interest. You can only go so long with running on sub 5 hours or less. Honestly, I don't even want to bring up how much sleep I've been getting the last few nights. It's fucking embarrassing. But definitely gonna change that as over the course of the next few days, combined with actually getting my food down, get back up to 250-ish pretty quick. 260, don't worry. You'll see that weight update. 260 morning weight after the bathroom. Just wait for it. That kind of brings up a pretty worthwhile topic. When it comes to weighing yourself, I think that having a scale in the gym is pretty much worthless. Just because by the time that you actually go into the gym, let's say you're going in like 6 o'clock or something after school or after work. By the time you get in there, you had your whole day of eating and drinking, or potentially not eating so much as normal and not drinking so much as normal. So as your day progresses, your weight can fluctuate drastically. Right? if I wake up dehydrated and maybe I didn't eat a ton of food the night before, and then I have a huge breakfast, big ass lunch, maybe another meal in between, plus like a gallon of water, I could be 10 pounds heavier later in the day than I was in the beginning. Now, actually, that's probably a little bit of an overestimation, but at least 6 for sure, and it wouldn't even really feel like it. So, it can just really change. The best time to track your weight, if you do want to track that kind of stuff and see a trend line over time, is you get up, go to the bathroom in the morning, and then before eating or drinking anything, then you hop on the scale, because that's going to give you a repeatable state, well, a repeatable state, which you'll be able to actually compare day to day, week to week, and month to month, and see if you're actually making changes. Because if you're not, right, then that data is really, it's not even speaking to you, it's yelling at you that you got to change something with your routine. And if you're trying to lose weight and you're just floating at the same fucking, 200 pounds or whatever, then guess what? Some shit's got to change. And if you track your weight over a couple of months and you're trying to diet down and you actually think that you should be losing weight, but you're really gaining weight, then something really has to change. And then, same thing in reverse. If you're trying to bulk up, but your weight is just fucking locked in at 180, I don't think you're doing the wrong training split. You're probably just not eating enough food. You're not getting enough calories into your system. Right? Assuming you're getting your gram per pound of or a gram of protein per pound of body weight into your system per day, then yeah, the only thing that I think you need to change is eating more food. Right? So get a couple more 100 grams of carbs worth of rice in per day. Honestly, that could be a pretty drastic change to anybody's diet, which could most certainly result in some weight changes, at least for maybe at least a month or so. Right? If you go from maintenance calories to an extra 100 grams of carbs worth of rice, or maybe even an extra 200 grams of carbs worth of rice per day, right? Then that's going to be 800 potentially calories above your maintenance level. So 800 calories, let me I forget the math. I don't remember. I do know that a pound of fat, like a pound of fat on your body, is about 3,000-ish calories, right? So I forget how much a pound of muscle is calorie-wise, but for the most part, the more calories that you can eat above your maintenance, right, then every day those extra calories add up, and it's going to result in some extra poundage on your frame. So if you go, let's just make the math easy, and somehow you eat in a 3,000 calorie surplus. Now, actually, that's so far beyond realistic, it's not even worth mentioning. So let's say you go, I don't know, let's say you go 30 days on a 500 calorie surplus, right? You're eating 500 calories above what your body needs to stay the exact same weight, right? That means over that course of time, assuming your, base maintenance calorie stays the same, as you get bigger, it's actually going to increase, but let's just say it stays the same over this 30-day period for simplicity, then that means 500 calories extra per day for 30 days. That's going to be, what is that, 15,000 calories? So I forget how much a pound of, I can't remember. But 15,000 calories is, what is that? That'd be 5 pounds worth of fat. But in a bulking context, of course, that's going to result in some muscle growth, plus a little bit of extra fat growth. It's just kind of, or fat deposit, just kind of the nature of the beast when it comes to bulking. But in a dieting context, this math is a lot easier because you don't have to think about muscle gain related to fat gain or anything nuts like that. So if you're trying to lose 5 pounds in a month, then same math, you have to eat in a 500 calorie deficit per day, right? 500 calories per day for 30 days, 15,000 calories. A pound of fat is 3,000 calories. So if you had a 15,000 calorie deficit over the course of a month, then that would mean that you should lose just about 5 pounds of fat. And there's really no getting around that math, So it's kind of a hard pill to swallow because it's no fun. Honestly, it's not fun to think that you've been like if you take somebody who doesn't really know everything about math and or not math, but everything about like calories and dieting and stuff like that. If they kind of think that what they've been doing should be working, and you just like smack somebody in the face with, "You're eating too much food. Don't you know how calories work?" It's you're not really being a effective communicator of the benefits of a calorie deficit. But sometimes people kind of have to hear that. So if you know somebody who's kind of always trying new diets and everything else like that, don't just like hit them with, "You're eating too much food." Right? That's kind of a blunt way to put it. You're probably gonna upset people. But kind of bring out the idea to them, man. Calories in, calories out. I stand behind that 100%. And that's I know it sounds kind of funky because it's such a science-based thing to say, but that is legit. If there's anything uh, body composition related, because obviously losing fat, you don't have to be a bodybuilder to do that. You don't even have to go to the gym to do that. That's purely you do that purely with diet manipulation. So let's just call it body recomposition. Obviously I kind of trend to focus more so on muscle growth, of course, but fat loss is also a pretty big part of this equation. So if I say anything, or if you want to listen to anything that I bring up or, spout on about or anything, the one thing that I totally want you to fucking take to heart is that calories in, calories out, surplus, maintenance, deficit, that is 100% the best way to go about it, at least in a very technically effective way. Right? Now, of course, if you hit somebody with, okay, you need to eat 2,000 calories for the next 30 days if you want to lose X amount of pounds, that is true, but it's not the whole picture. Because then you're just saying, oh, 2,000 calories of what? What are you talking about? So that's where being a little bit more knowledgeable about macros and grams of protein and fats and carbs and high satiating foods or low calorie density foods. Right? That's where learning about that kind of stuff is going to make it much easier for you to make meals and shit like that are actually going to keep you from being super hungry and make it easier for you to stick to maybe your 2,000 calories per day. And then same thing in reverse. If you're trying to bulk up, you got to be able to find foods that are easy for you to get down consistently throughout the day, consistently day after day, week after week, month after month, so that you can stay in a constant surplus and actually kind of pack some weight onto your frame. So that information is out there. I feel like I've kind of been spouting on long enough. This isn't a diet video. This is a back workout video. But if you can watch a couple macro tracking tutorial style, even just like shorts or whatever else, or honestly just by keeping an open mind about it, I'm sure honestly even just by thinking about it, I'm sure your phone will somehow pick up based on like your facial recognition software that you're thinking about macros, and it'll start showing you TikToks about it. But if you're kind of having trouble, you're not really, your weight's plateaued, be it you're trying to bulk up or cut down, cannot stress it enough. Start tracking your macros. But I think that's all I gotta say. Oh, I am excited to be fully rested again. That will feel rather nice. So, cardio when I wake up, arms later on, food, liquids, and a big ass fucking chunk of REM sleep is on my agenda. So, I will see you next time.